Hello, everybody. John Fuller here again. And I just wanted to share that chapter number 2, Necessities Boy, is a little longer. So I broke it down into 2 sections. The first section is going to be talking about love. And love doesn't always have to be that mushy gushy, ooey gooey kind of love that we are seeing on television and movies. But sometimes love can take the form of, these kind of things. Is there a particular setting that you love? For me, I really enjoy the beach a lot. So, where's your favorite setting? Is it Disneyland? The mountains? Those sorts of things. Or maybe you love a pet. Here's our dog, Teddy. And Teddy was a little bit of a Dickens. He could be a little bit of a character. But anyways, here he is, and we loved him so much we got some socks that matched him. And then, well, there's of course the traditional love. And so once again, here's Jacqueline and I back in our dating stage, and we're at a Valentine's Day fun run. Well, for Eli, his favorite setting, his favorite place, is the big red barn out back of Martin Manor. And so you're going to hear about that today in Fly Car, Chapter 2, Necessities, Boy. Martin Manor, where Eli lived, was the very definition of a manor. The sprawling estate included chocolate-covered brownstone mansion, a meticulously groomed 5-acre lawn, complete with hedges squared off at exactly 90-degree angles, mature spruce and maple trees in all the right places, and an ivory-colored fountain with a mermaid at the center of the circular driveway. But even though his home looked as though it could be featured on MTV Cribs, Eli never really felt comfortable there. To him, it didn't have that cozy feeling that a home should. He felt the same way about a museum he had visited on a school field trip. The museum had all the right pieces of art and all the right places, but at the end of the day, he was eager to leave its stiff formality. He longed for the warm type, casual, inviting home he saw on the Hallmark cards he got at the holidays. Martin Manor seemed desperately in need of a docent. A docent's someone who takes you around at an art museum. So big, sprawling, and formal. Eli's favorite part of this estate was the big old red barn about 100 yards behind the main house. I just showed you a picture of a red barn with cream trim. It was one of the original structures remaining from the days when great-grandpa had acquired this property in the early part of the 20th century. The barn probably would have been demolished if it weren't for the Historical Society had discovered that the original Martin motorized vehicle had been assembled right there. Now it had been registered at the Historical Society and preserved for safekeeping. It didn't look like much from the outside with its classic red paint job and cream trim, but inside was where the dreams came to life. According to Martin Motor's legend, sometimes Eli enjoyed coming out to the old barn just to soak up a little inspiration and dream about what his own future might hold. As the family sedan pulled up to Martin Manor, Eli noticed that Murph was camped out on the front doorstep, thrumming through his baseball cards as he kept them stashed away in his backpack. Murph propped up from the slouch position on the stoop and asked if Eli could play for a while. "Sure," Mom said. It was the first Friday of spring break, and she was happy to be done with the parent-teacher conference. The boys sprinted at top speed toward the old red barn with a sense of newfound freedom. Freedom from school, freedom from Mrs. Fitzgerald's lessons and lectures, and freedom from the school routine that ruled their lives 180 days a year. The barn's double doors were fastened shut with a huge antique padlock to keep people out. It looked like the kind of padlock that would guard Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory in a Saturday afternoon science fiction movie. Eli thought it would be cool to show Murph the mysterious place. He reached for the iron key that was always hidden underneath a wooden red rooster just to the right of the barn doors. Shimming the key into the hole and cranking it a quarter turn clockwise, he felt the lock give way with a groan. The boys were able to pull the doors just wide enough to wiggle their way in. Shafts of golden light entered the dark barn from an opening in the upstairs loft. The barn still gave off a pastoral aroma after all of these years, a reminder of its former farm heritage. The smells of freshly cut grass and axle grease wafted through the boys' nostrils. Eli watched as Murph caught a sight of an object in the corner covered in a dusty cream sheet. Like a ghost from the barn's past. It wasn't a specter. The shape just wasn't right. And so it had to be something else. Curious, Murph pulled back the cover to reveal, whoosh, voila, a mint-condition cherry red sports car. His eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Totally awesome ride!" he exclaimed. Eli remembered his dad taking him to the barn a few years back to show him his most prized possession, the 1984 cherry red Martin Mercurio. In fact, some of Eli's favorite memories were of time spent listening to his dad tell stories of his teenage years spent driving around in the cherry red sports car. One story started off with his dad proudly earning his driver's license and being rewarded the brand new, just off the assembly line, Martin Mercurio for his 16th birthday as a gift from his father. Young Michael was so excited that he piled a couple of his buddies from high school and drove nearly 30 miles north to the nearest town with a drive-in movie theater to watch the original Ghostbusters. Before the movie started, Michael decided to get some popcorn while the trailers rolled across the oversized 60-foot outdoor screen. At the concession stand, he happened to meet a brand new female employee in training, but not just any ordinary employee, a girl. And not just any girl, but the one. She was funny, flirty, and cute and made Michael, who could be pretty introspective, come alive. So we were talking about love earlier, and here it is, front and center. An hour later, he floated back to the Mercurio holding cold popcorn in one hand and warm drinks in the other. His buddies chided him for missing most of the movie, but he didn't care. He went back to the drive-in 4 more times that summer, making the 30-mile trek just to see the girl behind the concession counter. Eventually, he gathered up his courage and asked her on a date. She said yes, as long as it wasn't Ghostbusters. A decade later, the girl at the popcorn stand would become Eli's mom. Before then, there was, of course, high school graduation and college to attend, fraternity parties on Friday night, Michigan football games on Saturday. But 4 years of university life passed rather quickly, and suddenly diplomas were handed out on a warm Saturday afternoon in June. 1 month later, Michael Martin and Megan Marshall had another ceremony to attend. They were married on a beautiful Midwestern afternoon under blue skies outside on Martin Manor grounds. A simple reception in the barn followed, and barbecued ribs for dinner. Eli held this story in his head like a movie. He loved every moment of his parents' courtship. It was part of why he had such an affection for the barn. Setting matters. Murph, meanwhile, was experiencing a different kind of love story. He was spellbound by the car. Almost 30 years later, the Mercurio still looked as if it came off the showroom floor. The boys spent the better part of an hour admiring it. They sat in the driver's seat, grasping the midnight black leather steering wheel, pretending to be Formula One race car drivers in Monte Carlo. Murph's heart thumped as he sat in pole position with the wheels hugging the crisp, white starting line. The race was a back-and-forth contest as Eli provided the play-by-play, commenting, "And it's back and forth, neck and neck, as the two cars slam down the straightaway." Murph thought this was better than any version of Grand Prix Auto he had played on a video game console. And we're going to go ahead and stop right there. Chapter 2, Necessities Boy.